So this is Harry Davies for BloodyElbow.com, and I'm lucky enough to be joined by the author, model, mixed martial artist, but more importantly, bare knuckle fighter Paige VanZant. So I know you've had a busy day. So how you doing, Paige?
Doing good, feeling really good. Obviously, today is like the weight cut day. So we had our press conference today, open workouts, cutting weight. So other than that, feeling really good.
So you had a whole media today. I think you've had a press conference and whatnot, which must be a bit, strange because obviously, headlined a fight night, I believe, in the UFC before, but technically it's your first pay-per-view. So what's it kind of been like in the run up to it?
It's kind of cool, to really say that this is my first ever pay-per-view. It's a big deal. It makes the transition feel that much more exciting. But really the same focus that I've had for every fight. I'm going into this just ready to compete at the best of my ability.
Yeah, so like I said, obviously it's this Friday against Britain Hart at BKFC KnuckleMania. So, why now? Because you're fairly young still in your MMA career. So, like, what made you move to BKFC at just the age of 26?
Yeah, I am technically young. I don't know that I'm young in my career, I guess. You could say, being with the UFC for 6 years, I was ready for something new. I was ready to get that passion back, and this is where it was. I had a lot of organizations offer really big contracts, but this is the one that made me excited to compete. It made me excited to go to training every single day and really test myself as a professional bare knuckle boxer. It's kind of crazy, and not very many people get to call themselves a bare knuckle boxer.
One thing I think that's been talked about in the lead to this and throughout your career is the aesthetic. And it's something that's popped up whenever your name is mentioned. Is it frustrating to you that some people look and think, oh, it's Paige VanZant, the Reebok or the swimsuit girl, and it's not, the girl who went 5 rounds with a championship fighter or, continued to fight on when you broke your arm? Does that really bother you, or is it something that you just kind of, accepted as your career gone on?
It did at first. At first I kind of, irritated me, but now it absolutely doesn't. I think I have a new narrative behind myself. It's not having to prove that I'm tough. It's that proving that, yeah, you can be beautiful and badass at the same time. Those are the same thing. They go to hand in hand. Beauty is strength. And I think, just embracing who I am as a person. I'm not going to shy away from, who I am.
Would I be right in saying it's something that, maybe at first, like you said, you got a bit annoyed to it, but maybe it's something that you've used to your advantage and, might be a factor in, landing yourself in the position you are today?
I think parts of it, I think, the awesome thing is there's a lot of people in the UFC that, Dana has said had the it factor. A specific reason. Sorry, I'm in a Harley Davidson office.
That's okay. That's right.
Anyway, sorry. So I'm really fortunate I have a big following, but obviously I worked my way up. I was the number 6 ranked fighter in the UFC based off of wins and based off of finishes and based off of competing. And I look at, I've been through a lot. Journeymen in the sport have wins and they have losses. I'm not going to run away just because I lose one time. I'm not going to run away because I've had a tough fight. That's what makes me a fighter. The fact that, yeah, I have lost and I don't ever think about quitting. I uproot my entire life and moved to Florida to become a better athlete.
I think one thing that I wanted to ask you is just like, the UFC is such a big organization, and not that BKFC isn't, but what is one thing that you're going to miss most about the UFC?
That's a hard question. I obviously the idea of being a UFC fighter is amazing. I loved being a part of their organization, but I don't miss anything. I feel all the love. I feel everything that I've ever needed right here at BKFC. And especially I'm being compensated for it now. I can provide a life for my family and save money for my future children to go to college and all of that. So I truly feel like I'm right where I belong, and I'm happy with my decision.
Right. So something that really struck me about UFC fights, like I mentioned, was how gritty you were, whether it was in the clinch or on the mat or even on the feet. So what's it been like transitioning from training to a bare knuckle fight where, those aspects of the fight are taken away?
Yeah, the transition was pretty easy, honestly. And I kind of had a team set up for me that prepared me for this. I was fortunate enough to come down to Florida for 2 American top team, and Thiago Alves obviously trains at my gym, and he's already competed for BKFC. And I've really focused on implementing the same kind of program that he was doing. It's a lot of straight boxing and then a few different changes and things we needed to do to make it, bare knuckle boxing.
Whilst we're on the topic of this, I'm sure you might have been asked it, but Thiago Alves, we saw last weekend he was obviously in the headlines because of the Dustin Poirier fight. Have you been around Dustin, and how happy were you for him?
I was really happy. Obviously, I don't actually train at the same time as a lot of these people. So I saw him in the gym every day. I saw him grinding. I saw him training. But I was really happy, you know, especially having a teammate go out and do something like that. I think it's obviously a really big deal. It's a big deal to beat Conor, not just because he's Conor McGregor, but because of the skill that he brings to the table. He's an extremely talented athlete. And for Dustin to go out and do what he did was absolutely amazing.
I'm not sure if you saw these comments, but when you signed initially, I think Beck Rawlings, a former UFC, obviously, you know, female fighter as well, she said that you don't know what you're getting into by stepping into bare knuckle boxing. Obviously, I'm guessing you do. So what are your thoughts on her saying that?
I think, you know, obviously there's still a lot of people who are trying to get momentum off of my name by mentioning it. It's silly. Obviously, we've already fought. There's no reason, you know, that has been laid to rest, and I'm here to compete. And there's no reason to say anything like that until you've watched me fight.
Cool. You know, we saw when Anthony Pettis recently signed for the PFL that he said he wants to be the face of the company. So is it safe to say that maybe it's the same for you? Like you'd want to be BKFC's poster girl?
That's nothing that I really shoot or aim for. I just try to win fights. I'm here to compete. Of course, you know, I've had some amazing things come from fighting. I've had amazing opportunities come. I've had, you know, a lot of people who have really added to my career. But for me, I focus on fighting. That's what I do all day, every day. Is I train at the gym and I go home with my husband, and then we go back to the gym and we go home. So that I'm not worried about. I think that it'll come when it comes, and I'm just, you know, I'm here to win fights.
And finally, I'll ask you, you know, like I said earlier, technically you're headlining your first ever pay-per-view, which is crazy because you're fighting, you know, on the same card as former UFC fighters like Chris Lieben and Johnny Bedford. How proud does that make you? Is it something that you have to step back and see, like, this is my first fight in a new promotion? It's a massive, massive, you know, thing.
It is huge, especially, you know, having this be my first pay-per-view. It's a big deal. That was the one thing I didn't get to do in the UFC is fight for a pay-per-view. You know, I've been the main event in the UFC twice. I've, you know, been in the top 10 in the UFC. I've done a lot of things. I've been, you know, extremely successful. And now to headline a pay-per-view card is just another thing that I can be, you know, really thankful for.
Great. Thank you so much for the time. And you can watch Paige's fight on Fight TV this weekend, Friday, February 5th. Paige, thank you so much.